A very good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to the session 8 of this masterclass training series. The discussion for us today is about reports and how you can get actionable insights from reports in ServiceDesk Plus. In this discussion, we have got three organizers. Myself, Prem Maheshwaran, I'm a product expert of ServiceDesk Plus, and I have got Guna, an Analytics Plus product expert, and Ugandra, she is a technical writer for ServiceDesk Plus. The agenda for the discussion today is about learning about the out-of-the-box reports in ServiceDesk Plus, how you can build custom reports for specific requirements. If you're good with SQL language, you can write the SQL statements and get reports out of the application directly. And finally, we are going to find the ways of developing smart reports with advanced analytics. So the last part of this discussion would be for question and answers. So if you've got any question and answer, you can shoot it on us. So before we move into the product, I'd like to highlight the metrics that you have to measure for each and every module. The first module that I'd like to discuss is the incident or the request management module. So here I have segregated the reports in the 4 sections to measure independent metrics. First, the team performance. So in order to identify the team performance, I would like to suggest few reports. One of it is identifying the incident response time. So the SLA dictates response and resolution due times. So it is required for us to identify the first response time that is taken by a technician in order to initiate a contact with the end user. ServiceDesk Plus also captures the first call resolution. So we have to identify the first call resolution rate. So the number of tickets which are resolved within first call and the number of tickets that aren't. Average resolution time. So what is the team average of resolution time taken by technicians to resolve cases? And finally, the pending tickets, the backlog, right? The second section is on the SLA compliance. In ServiceDesk Plus, we have got a lot of out-of-the-box reports to measure the SLA compliance. So we can make use of the out-of-the-box reports to run and identify the compliance of resolution and response due by times. Incidents not initiated via self-service. We have been trying to implement service catalog for a very long time. So even then, our customers tend to send us emails or contact us via phone calls. So it is essential for us to measure the number of tickets or the volume of tickets reported via phone call mode or the email mode, so that we can initiate end user education and drive them to use the self-service portal. Incidents resolved remotely. So how many incidents are resolved via remote connections, remote sessions has to be measured as well. In the quality section, we have to measure the reopen rate of tickets. That will help us identify the effectiveness of the solution provided. Incidents with no known resolution. Sometimes incidents will not have any resolution available in the knowledge base. So it is essential for us to build new solutions. Escalated incidents. So when a technician fails to meet the SLA, it gets escalated, and we have to identify such tickets and ensure that it doesn't happen in the coming days. And number of incidents associated to problems. So one of the most underutilized modules in ServiceDesk Plus is problem management. So we may have to practice problem management in order to find and derive new solutions, and we have to measure that as well. And finally, the value that we provide to the customers through our help desk. So it is essential for us to measure the customer satisfaction and the volume of tickets reported to IT. So if the volume is increasing, then obviously something is wrong with the infrastructure, or there should be user education set up to reduce the ticket volume. So all these have to be measured in order to effectively handle requests in the application. So let us dive into the product and see some of the out-of-the-box reports available for the incident management module. For this demonstration, I'm using the Enterprise Edition of ServiceDesk Plus, and it is the full-blown version. It has the complete IT package along with IT asset management. and it's an on-premises version. Okay, so let us go to the reports tab, and under the reports tab, as soon as you go there, you'll find a lot of folders with default reports. In order to help small setups, we have given a lot of out-of-box reports that we gathered from studying a lot of organizations. So we understood the industry practice and we collected a lot of reports that will help you to straight away start using ServiceDesk Plus, right? So let us expand the reports on incident request folder. So this is where you'll find a lot of reports that are related to incident management, all right? So in order to run a built-in report, all you have to do is click on the report title, and that will generate the report. So for this example, we have run a request status by technician, which gives the technicians in the left side and the status on the top. So we have built a matrix report straight away, even without configuring it. So that is the advantage of using the built-in reports. Likewise, you can go back to the folder request on incidents, reports on incidents, and then click on completed request by category. So that will give you a chart as well as the data that is underlying the chart. So I've got various tickets from different categories. That will give you a quick idea about the different categories of issues that are reported for any set amount of time. So there are few more available from the incident request. So the second section that we were discussing previously on the metrics slide deck is about the SLA violation. So now you can make use of the SLA reports available as well. So in addition to this, we have also provided you a complete list of SLA violation reports. So reports by SLA violated request is the folder. Once you go there, you can click on it, and then that will generate a quick report to identify the number of tickets that have got violated. And also we can use it by support groups. So if you have got different teams built as support groups, you can measure the SLA violation per group. Okay. If you'd like to measure it by category, department, due date, level, priority, etc. Most of the times we always wanted to measure the high priority SLA violations. If that is the case, all you have to do is run this report. It'll give you SLA violation for high priority tickets, low priority tickets, medium priority, etc. And also you can see the underlying data. The advantage of running built-in reports is that it can be exported. So pretty much all type of reports can be exported in various formats. So if you'd like to reuse it in a different system, you can export it as a CSV file, or if you'd like to work it with this data in a spreadsheet, you can export it as an XLS file, right? So these are out-of-the-box reports. And one more advantage of the out-of-the-box reports is it is editable. So if you'd like to modify the criterion for the report, you have to edit, and that will give you customizer, report customizer. So these are the available columns, and these are the columns used in this built-in report. Now let us expand the filter option. Now I have set this report to run for the data of this year, but you can change it to a last quarter, last month, or weekly reports. So you can set up custom timelines during which the report has to be run, and also modify the filtering. So now this one is for overdue status, but if you'd like to combine the criterion with a category, you can still do that. So pretty much all the out-of-the-box reports are customizable. Once you customize and run it, you can save it with a different name. You can create your own reports out of the box reports. All right, so let us take a look at the next module that I would like to discuss. This one is about change and projects. So with regards to change, we may have to measure certain things in order to ensure successful changes in the upcoming days. The first section is adherence to change management. Most of the organizations are not practicing change management. They just create change records. Now, it has become a practice where we create a change just for a record. But there are a few principles that you have to follow in order to increase the success rate of a change. The first one is adherence, number of unauthorized changes identified, right? Most of the times, technicians tend to make modifications to high impact asset without following any principles. So that has to be reduced. In order to reduce that, we have to enforce creation of change record and practicing of change management principles. So to identify that or to promote that, first we have to measure how many changes are happening in my infrastructure without having a change ticket. The second report is number of high impact service requests fulfilled without a change record. Sometimes end user will ask for a port opening in the firewall so that they can access some sites. So these originate as service requests and it will be approved by their managers. But in order to fulfill the service request, the technician has to touch and make change to a very high impact asset. Since it is already approved, they tend to ignore creation of a change record. But we may have to educate them to create a change record so that in the future, if there is any problem, we can go back to ServiceDesk Plus and identify that there is a change that was executed a month or 2 months back. Such kind of maintenance of records will help us to narrow down, disasters or reduce disasters in the future. The second section is planning of changes, percentage of backdoor changes. So if your plan is not so effective, will not be able to complete the activity within the stipulated time. And also the change acceptance rate. So you have created a plan, you have passed it on to the stakeholders to get their recommendations, but they're not really happy with the plan, which means that we haven't done a very effective plan. So we have to figure out the number of tickets that are being sent back to IT due to the lack of planning. So with that feedback, you will be able to improvise yourself and come up with better planning teams, which will produce more successful plans. And the project performance. So as you all know, project management is available as one of the modules in the enterprise edition of ServiceDesk Plus. So we have provided the project management module primarily to facilitate large changes, implementation of large changes, right? So it is a work breakdown structure tool with which you can manage time and resources. But as any project management tool goes, we have to measure the estimated time as well as the versus the actual time. Likewise, we have to measure the estimated budget versus the actual cost spent on the project. All right. So ServiceDesk Plus also does that. We can record the estimates and the actuals. And with that data, we can run report and identify the variance between the budget and the cost. I'm sorry, the time taken, right? And the next section, the last section that we have to measure is the number of incidents caused by a change. So if a change is not so effective, at times it will trigger a lot of problems in the infrastructure. So we have to study post-implementation review and identify the number of incidents that are triggered after a change activity is completed. Percentage of changes completed on time. So at times we may also have to look at the success rate. So if a change is successfully executed on time, we have to do an analysis and find out what was done properly in order to make it a success so that it can be extended to the rest of the teams and technicians. Percentage of unplanned outages. So for any change activity to be executed, we may have to cause a downtime or degrade the service. So we have to identify how many changes have overshot the downtime and caused unplanned outages so that we can set up a proper downtime in the upcoming days. So these are some of the metrics that we have to measure with respect to change management and project management modules. Now let us go back to the product and see what are the options available for us to run reports against the change and project management module. All right. Once again, in the out-of-the-box reporting section, there is a separate section for reports by all changes. So here, once again, you can run quick reports for changes by category. So that will quickly give you a chart with different categories of changes that have been done in the complete year. All right. So these are some of the change-related reports available out of the box. So you can make use of it, you can go through it and then run reports and identify different metrics that are underlying a change. Right. The next session that I would like to discuss is about the asset management. So if you're attending this webinar series for the first time, you might wonder why we directly go into the reports section and not discuss the data that underlies these reports. If you'd like to learn more about the modules, I would recommend you to take a look at the Masterclass webinar series. We have published all the webinars covering all the modules. So you can go to servicedeskplus.com, go to the resource section. Under resources, you'll find the webinar videos. You can take a look at it, or otherwise go to YouTube and search for Service Desk Plus Masterclass. You'll find the playlist for all the videos that we have published in this series. So once you take a look at it, you can come back to this particular webinar recording and you can find the connection between the reports and the data that we discussed in the appropriate webinar, right? So once again, let us go back to the asset management part and let's see the reports that will help you to do better asset management in the coming days. So I have created 5 sections for asset management and the type of reports that you can run for it. The first section is budgeting. So whenever we go to procure assets, so we wonder, what would be the budget required for procuring assets? So we have to some way forecast the expenditure, and to do that, it'll be really helpful if we have historical data handy with you. The average workstation cost. So what is the current average workstation cost? So if you've got 100 assets in your organization, 100 laptops, so what is the average cost of these 100 laptops? That will give you an idea about a per laptop cost when you go for procurement. Average license cost, right? So once again, license is a soft asset that you own. So in order to manage its cost, you may also have to study the average license cost that you possess and also total asset spending. So the cost of ownership of an asset should also be studied. Total value of the assets, right? So all these will help you with budgeting in the coming days. Now let us move on to the actual purchasing part. So if you know that, Service Desk Plus comes with a purchase management module, all right? So in order to make better purchases in the coming days, some of the reports that will come in handy are depreciation rate of assets. If you know, Service Desk Plus also has a depreciation calculator, wherein as soon as you procure the asset, it records the cost and also it calculates the useful life based on your input and the salvage value at various points of times, right? Along with the depreciation. So we use various models to calculate the depreciation and also the useful life as well as the salvage value. Average fines paid for lease violations. So if you have leased an asset and if you have overshot the lease period, it will ultimately result in paying fines. So you may have to keep a control over it. Average cost of maintaining an asset. All right, so that is the total cost of ownership and number of workstations in repair. Right, so all these will give you to make better purchases. So if a particular model of workstation is always under repair, then something obviously is wrong with the type of asset, model of the laptop. So in the future, you can ignore or study for a better, look for a better model of laptop and procure it. Then comes the resourcing part. So this is where we match man to machine, right? So unassigned workstations that are available in your organization, which means you have assets in store. How many assets are there in store? What would be the trend of recruitment? How many people will be coming on board into your company in the future? So do you have the capacity to match the growing resource requirement? All that can come in handy. Users with more than one workstation. So if a user is having 2 workstations, you can validate the need for having 2 workstations, probably recover and repurpose it. Users without a mapped workstation. So we call this as zombie assets, in IT, a colloquial IT term. So because the asset is not connected to a user, it is a free or orphaned asset. So it is essential for us to connect the asset to a user so that when the user leaves the organization, we can recover the asset and put it in store and repurpose it. So this will help you for better resource planning in the coming days. Discrepancies. So we don't have control over our own assets. We don't have everything under the chart, under the ledger. So it is essential for us to bring it under the ledger and keep a control over it. So in order to do that, we have to run a report on the number of unauthorized configuration items. Or if you're using configuration management database, you can run a report against the configuration management database to identify these assets with frequent service failures. All right. So once again, it represents issues with the hardware. Probably you may have to think consider replacing those assets. Audit history will show you the ownership history of the asset as well as the scan history of the asset. And finally, the licensing part. Once again, this is an area where we don't have control over the expenditure. Just to comply with an audit from Microsoft or Adobe, we end up procuring more licenses in a panic mode, because the cost involved with the fines, if you're not so compliant, will be very huge. So if you have an insight over what really happens with the licenses, you can have a better control over it and avoid unnecessary purchases or procurements of licenses just to meet an audit. So number of available licenses can be run as a report, ratio of used and purchased licenses, and finally license expiry dates. So these are set of metrics that I would like to suggest to you so that you can give it a shot and try running it in your company and organization as well. Right now, let's go back to the application and see some of the reports that are available out of the box for IT asset management. So this section, which starts from all computers, gives you the IT asset reports. Once you expand it, you can run report, you can find computers by operating system. That will give you various operating systems that you have, and you can run a report against the machines, and you can find the machine name as well as service tag. All right. Going back to our reports, you can find it by processor manufacturer, processor type. Let us take the example of Spectre vulnerability. So it has affected pretty much every processor type. So in such situations, we have to identify what are the different processor types that are in use, so that we can contact the OEMs and get the appropriate patches to fix the vulnerability. To do that quickly, you can run a report, you can identify the processor and get the data as an Excel file. Right? So virtual machines by host, pretty much everything that is available in your IT niche can be extracted as a report if you have all the data scanned and available in the application. All right. With regards to configuration management database, so once again it is covered. And software is one more important thing where we have to run reports. So we spoke about purchase versus install software. So there is an out-of-box report available to do that. Click on it and it'll give you the compliance status, manufacturer of the software, how many software are in install state, how many are purchased, how many are allocated, and how many is left available to use. All this is available in a click of a mouse. All you have to do is explore these sections, run reports with which you can get more actionable data. All right. So we have seen that there are a lot of out-of-box reports available in ServiceDesk Plus, but at times our requirement will grow too specific. We may have to construct our own logic to get a report out of the system. If that is your case, if that is the need, you can run custom reports as well. To do that, go to New Custom Reports, click on it, and here you can completely customize and build a report by yourselves. I'm going to call this report as My Report Test. All right. So the next step is to choose the type of the report. It can be a tabular report, it can be a matrix report. If you're running report against assets, you can run audit reports, CI history reports, and summary reports. All right. So I'm going to go with the conventional type of reporting, the tabular report. And then the next section is selecting the module against which you'd like to run the report. So these are all modules that are available for reporting. All request, which covers incidents and service request, time spent. So if you're using work logs, you can run reports against the work log to identify the total amount of time spent by a technician on any given period of time. All right. We can run reports against tasks, projects, and survey is one more important module. So we have to measure the customer satisfaction. If that is the case, you can run a report against the survey module, problem changes, and pretty much all the modules are covered in the section. I'm going to run a report against the request module. All right. So once I choose the module, the next step is to proceed to the report visit. And in here, I can customize how my report is going to look like. So I'm going to break it down in a granular fashion. I'm going to show you how it is going to change the report as I modify the step one by one. All right. First, I'm going to bring in all the columns that I want in this report. the request ID, the mode of the request creation, who the requester is, and who the technician is. So these are some of the data that I have added to the report. Now I want to know the category, subcategory, and item of this report. I have brought in that, and then I'm going to bring in priority and level. All right, I believe I've got a lot of information available in my report already. Let us run the report and see how it works. All right, so as soon as I involved all the columns, I can see the report has got generated already. Right, it gives me a lot of records. I've got about 10,000 records in this report. Now I don't want all the data. I want to filter it down. If that is the case, I can go back to the edit view, take the step 2. So that gives you option to filter it. Right, first filter is the date filter. If you'd like to identify the go by created time, responded time, due by time, all the time fields available in the request can be used for filtering. I'm going to say created time is going to be this year. So any report, any request that is created during this year, that is what I need. I don't want all the data in my system. Once I run it, it is reduced to 31. So now I've got only the data that I need. Now further, I can filter it down using the advanced filtering. So these are all the options available for me to do advanced filtering. I'm going to say mode is not web form, which means I would like to identify all the tickets that were not created through web form. So any ticket that is created via phone call or email or voicemail, whatever it is, which is not through self-service, I want to get a report out of it. When I do that, I get precise information. All right, these are all the tickets that are created by users through the other modes, which we don't want. We have to promote or educate these users to make use of self-service portal. Now, once again, I can go back. All right, so the next section is to column to group. Now I want to know how many tickets are created by a particular requester in a non-web form mode, for which I'm going to order it by the requester's name. All right, let me quickly find it. Probably I may have to speak with my product management team to give me a quick search. I have to scroll through a lot. That is really frustrating. All right, now I'm going to group and run the report. So this is the requester, and he has got these many tickets, reported these many tickets via phone call. Ajay has reported it via chat and email. Andy has reported one ticket via, but I have to manually count it. That is really, cumbersome. Just because I have 4 or 5, I am doing it manually. But when there is a lot, it is not possible for me to count and get the number. So that is where the next section is going to help me. The step 4 is summary type. So the request area, I'm going to take a count of it and then run the report. Now I get a quick summation of the number of incidents that are reported by a user in a non-web form mode. So that way, I'm slowly building the report that I want with all the essential information that are required. Right? Final, to give it a final touch, I can even bring in a chart. Right? So I can build these charts. It can be a pie chart, bar chart, a 3D chart, time series charts. All these are the chart options available that can be brought into the report. I'm going to go with the pie chart. All right, and then I'll go with the mode. All right, and then choose the percentage. So I want to see the percentage of incidents reported by various modes. Once I run it, I find it here. So phone call takes the lead. It contributes 56% of the total tickets that are reported to IT. All right. So email 11%, chat is 11%, and none, which means the technicians are not tracking the mode through which the tickets are created. So I can quickly involve a chart as well into the report. So doesn't it sound so interesting? So it is a step-by-step creator with which you can construct a report. Question time. I've got a question from Ugandra, one of our panelists. Let's listen to her.
Hey Prem, so you were just showing us the different charts and different graphical representations that we can create for our reports. Can I add these charts to the dashboards because that will be very useful to me?
All right, that's a wonderful question. So most of the times people want this chart in the dashboard directly. I don't want to run the report every time to see this data. If that is the case, there is a quick way of doing it. First, you have to save the report. So the report that I have created, it has to be saved. I'm going to save it. All right, it is successfully saved. Now let us go back to the reports home. So this is the new report that I just created. I'm going to run it once again. When I run a saved report, it will give me one more option, that is to add the report to a dashboard. So click on it. I can choose the dashboard. There are 3 dashboards available: help desk, problem changes, and assets. I'm going to say help desk because it's help desk data. And then I can keep this widget as public or a private widget. So once I choose public, anyone logs into the system, they can see this data. I'm going to keep it private for me because this is my team's performance and I want control over it. I'm going to add it. So once it is successfully added, now I can go to the dashboard section, click on the dashboard, and as I scroll down to the bottom of the dashboard, I can find this new chart that I just created out of my report test one, available as a chart in the widget. So it refreshes once in a while and then keeps the data up to date. So it becomes real time. So you don't have to manually run the report every time. Instead, I can create a custom report and add it to the dashboard with a chart. And that way, it'll be very dynamic. Hope I answered your question, Nagandra. All right. Now let us go back to the reports section and continue with our quest to build better reports. All right. So now that we have seen building, running out of the box reports and also building custom reports, I'm going to show you how you can do advanced reporting using query reports. Go to new query report. Assume that your organization has given you a very challenging report that has to be extracted out of ServiceDesk Plus, and it is not possible to achieve this requirement using the custom reports builder. And if you've got the skill to write SQL queries by yourself, you can straight away go to the query editor, write your SQL statements, just like I'm doing right now, and then click on Run Report. So that will directly query the database and then get you the data out of the system. So I have brought in all the tickets into this report. So now I've got one more question from Bugandra. Let's listen to her.
So you just wrote the query by yourself. Where did you find the table names and their relationships? How do I actually know them to write the query statements?
Yeah, that requires a lot of practice, but to be frank, I've been using this product for about 7 years. So I know the tables by heart. So, but if you're a new user and if you are good with SQL and if you'd like to learn the tables and its relationships, you don't have to worry about it. We got it covered. So under the query report section, we have published the table schema for all the modules. I can choose the module and then click on the schema generator. Once I click on it, it'll show me all the tables, its relationship with the rest of the tables, and how I can extract data out of it. So if you're good with queries, you can write the SQL statement, joining these tables and get the data out of the system. Right? But we have one more advantage, if you're good with SQL language. So let us assume I want to build my custom SQL query. So in order to do that, I'm going to modify my existing report, the custom report that I generated, my report test one. So after I run this report, I can also view the query that is available under this report. I can Click on Show Query, open it with the editor, and then make modifications to this query. So you don't have to start from the scratch. Instead, continue building a custom report to a point and then save it and then make modifications and involve or add your logic to the existing query. So that way, even writing query reports will be easier. But the problem with queries is that not all of us know SQL, and it requires a lot of time to interpret the SQL statements and identify what type of report it is, and to make modifications. Maintenance is really, really difficult, right? So there is one more smart way of generating advanced reports through ServiceDesk Plus. Now, instead of writing SQL statements, you can do this. Cancel those one. We don't have to worry about learning SQL. Go to Advanced Analytics. There is a button available under the report section. Click on it, and that will take you to a download page from where you can download a product from Manage Engine. It's called Analytics Plus. Analytics Plus is a business intelligence tool from Manage Engine. It provides out-of-box integration with ServiceDesk Plus, and the really good part is it is free for use for a personal edition. So if you'd like to use it for yourself, you can download it for free, connect it with ServiceDesk Plus, and make use of it. All right. So there are two editions. One is a personal edition, which is free for one user, or if you'd like to use it for your team, collaborate with multiple users, you can download the professional edition, which has got a lot more options. So it will be better for me to hand this presentation over to Guna, who is an expert from Analytics Plus team. So I'm going to let Guna take over the session. Please bear with me for 1 or 2 moments. I'll transfer this presentation to him, and let's listen from Guna about the advantages of Analytics Plus.
Thank you, Prem. That was very informative. Hello, everyone. I'm Guna from the Analytics Plus team. So I'm very proud to introduce Analytics Plus, the business intelligence software, which will help you change the way you manage your help desk. Also, it will help you change the way you report. So let me walk you through why you need Analytics Plus and what's the advantage. So setting up Analytics Plus is really easy. So all you have to do is just jump into the admin section and click on Advanced Analytics. So here you would have options to set up Analytics Plus, and the configuration is very simple. So all you have to do is just input your IP address or the host name in which Analytics Plus is installed, and the port number the product runs on. So here, the synchronize from will help you to choose the data from your service desk. So if you would like to have a trend of report from 2016, you can simply select the synchronization from date, and you can sync the data to Analytics Plus. So once the initial synchronization is completed, you're going to have 300 plus reports and 15 plus dashboards. Yes, trust me. Here is the default dashboards that we would provide. So these dashboards are role-based and module-based dashboards. So the default dashboards, CIO dashboard, that talks about the metrics typically the CIO would be interested with. And these dashboards and reports are formed over 80 plus KPIs. So there would not be a need for you to even build reports once the integration is successful. So when I talk about the dashboards that is role-based, so you have different roles here. So you have service desk manager dashboards, CIO dashboards, and even it could be the model-based dashboards. So say for instance, SLA analysis dashboard. If you take a look at this dashboard pretty much talks about the SLA related details. So it sort of helps you to compare, the SLA violation related details with the present quarter and with the past quarter, right? And it also helps you to understand the request that is approaching the SLA. And also it talks about the SLA compliance trend. So let's say that if you wanted to have more reports other than this, like as Prem was saying, finding out the incoming tickets for your help desk is pretty much an important metric that you should keep a track of. So let's see how Analytics Plus can help you change the way you report and change the way you make decisions to your help desk system. So let's see how to build reports. So all you got to do is just click on new, and you have different options to create reports. You can create a chart view. We also support pivot, summary view, and also tabular view. Let's see how to create a chart view. So select chart view, and it'll help you to choose the table in which you would like to report on. So I'm going to report on the request table, and this is the report builder for you. So it would have the columns that's available in the request table, and it's just not going to be from the request table. We also bring in task details and also the change module details from your service desk. So all you got to do is just drag and drop the columns from your left-hand side to build reports. So I'm going to give you a quick scenario here. Let's say I want to find out the ticket inflow for your help desk, right? Let me name this report as ticket inflow. And I would just need two details. I would need the created time of the request, and I would need the count of requests to form this report. So I would use the search field, and I would search for the created time from the request table. And all I would do is just drag and drop the field and create the reports. So now I got the created time of the request, and I'm going to also search for the request ID. So here, since it's a numeric column, you have an option to report on, different mathematical operations. Like you can do a count of requests, you can perform an average of requests that you get for the help desk, or you can even perform the max and min. So I'm going to do a count of requests, and let's see how the reports are generated. So I would just select generate report, and there you go. It has instantly created a report for you. So if you would like to add more details to this report, say for instance, if you want to keep a track of the more of request that comes to your help desk, just add search for more and add it in the color. It would improve, displaying more details on this report. So now we have, this is represented in a line chart. So let's switch it to a different visualization mode. I can easily switch it to a start bar with a single click. So this talks about, the ticket that you get for your help desk. And here the green indicates phone calls, and red indicates emails, and blue indicates web form. So if you wanted to add, pretty much, let's say, wanted to know about category of requests that you get for your help desk, I would say add category to the user filter. So just drag and drop the category in the user filter, and here you would have an option to select category, and then the reports you have would basically change based on the category that you choose. So for customer service, like how many tickets that I have on June, and how many tickets I have for July is what you get. But when you tend to create reports to get, a better view or to make a business decisions, you tend to create more reports. So Analytics Plus basically reduces the effort of creating more reports because it helps you to have multiple views from a single report. So let me just give you a simple example. So if I wanted to see, the email requests that were received in April, and if I wanted to have more details, like who is the requester of this, tickets, like I can simply select the bar and I can do a drill down directly from here. So I can select the requester detail, and it would again create a graph for me. So I have 4 requests from Bradley, and 2 from Martha, and 2 from Mats. So if you wanted to further drill down and see more details, like let's say who has handled Bradley tickets because he's our important customer. So if you wanted to further drill down and see, you can easily see the details from the list of columns that we give you in the drill down. So this basically reduces the effort of creating more reports, and then giving you a single view, using this tool. So, and it's not only that. So let's say you formed this report and you wanted to add this report to the existing dashboard. What you can simply do is just go ahead and select the dashboard to which you wanted to add this report. Click on Edit Design and just drag and drop the report. So building a report is just by dragging and dropping the columns, and building the dashboard, it would just be a drop to the dashboard. So that's how simple it is to create a report and dashboard using Analytics Plus. And I also wanted to answer, a quick question here, where most of the ServiceDesk Plus users has. So does Analytics Plus, is only for your ServiceDesk Plus data? Definitely not. So I have an interesting thing to show you. So let's imagine you also have a product management software, basically like a Jira or even the project management software from ServiceDesk. Like you have a data stored in your Excel, and if you wanted to bring that details here to Analytics Plus, you can import data directly to Analytics. So let's see how Analytics Plus helps you in this. So just give me a minute. We have an option to import data here. So as you see, so I'm going to import a data that I have in the Excel. So it could be the data that you have, actually exported from your service desk, or it could be the data that you have from your third-party tool. So I'm going to name this table. And I have the data in the CSV format, and I'm going to import it to Analytics Plus. So the data import happens, and also Analytics Plus has the ability to auto-identify the data type it imports. Say if you have a date column, or if you have a currency-related details, or it could be the numerical columns that you might have. Analytics Plus has the ability to auto-identify that, and it can generate reports and dashboards based on the data that you imported with a single click. So this is what I was talking about. So we got the data imported here, and if you wanted to, change the data type, you can select from the dropdown that we provide. So as you see, the business intelligence software has identified the date column. So as date columns, and the positive numbers is positive numbers. It's not only that. So as you see here at the bottom, it also suggests you, to join tables. So what do I mean by join tables? So it can actually form a relationship with the existing table that you already have. So the new data that you imported can easily connect with the existing data, and you can build reports with both the data that you have imported. So the moment I click on create, it would get the data imported in one of the tables, and here is a summary. And here is a brilliant part. It would suggest me to generate reports based on the data that I imported. So if I click on S, it's going to generate a new dashboard for me. Wasn't that interesting? You have a data here that is, used, and a dashboard is formed based on the data that we have already imported. So if you would like to embed this report, say for instance, in your website or in your intranet portal, you can still do that. So I think apart from embedding this report, or emailing this could be more interactive when you have an intranet portal, and when everybody wants to see the reports that were generated by Analytics Plus. So with that, I would like to actually conclude that. I think Ugandra has some questions to ask. So let's see what the question is.
So, can I embed the reports dashboard that I created in Analytics Plus in Service Desk?
Yeah, that's a good question, Ugandra, because I often get these questions from the ServiceDesk Plus users. Yes, you can. So as I was saying, so once the dashboard is formed, so I'll just show you. So this ServiceDesk Manager dashboard, if you take a look at that, we have an option to publish it. So that's at the top right of the screen. So if you go and select publish, we have an option to create a URL for this dashboard. So once you select URL, so it's going to give you two options, whether you want to let the user access this dashboard with having to log into the tool, or without logging to the tool. So you can have two options here. So I'm going to let the user not to log into the tool, because I want to give him flexibility to access the report without having to log into Analytics Plus. And I would just copy this URL which is formed, and I would go to the dashboard section of Service Desk, and I would create a new dashboard. So here, let's name this as a Service Desk Manager dashboard. And right, so here we have an option to paste the URL that I generated in Analytics Plus, and there we go. So we are going to have the dashboard that is created in Analytics Plus directly embedded in Service Desk. So the use case mainly would be here. So CIO or any C-level executives, they don't want to actually use multiple applications to get insights into their data. So we can have a single login and then also have Analytics Plus embedded in Service Desk. So this dashboard, if you take a look at that, this is an interactive dashboard. So you can, if you wanted to get details on this dashboard, you can directly do a drill down from here. So we give you a flexibility to even jump into multiple views directly from this dashboard. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, that was very clear and it seems very interesting too. All right, I have got one more quick question here. Do you provide out of the box reports for projects?
Uh, that's a very interesting question as well, because we tend to have more requests for project modules, and we're going to release it by end of next month. So with that, I started, like I said, we have 300 plus default reports, so it's going to be now 400 plus default reports out of the box. So more reports, reducing the effort, reducing the manual effort. So with that, I would like to actually conclude the webinar, and so I will hand over to Prem. So I'll also leave you all with a simple question: why create multiple reports when you have Analytics Plus? Think about it. So thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Guna, for the detailed presentation on the Analytics Plus software. It was really interesting, and I really like the publish part, where you can get the URL and publish it as a widget in ServiceDesk Plus. That is really interesting. I want to put this URL in a big screen. Okay, so most of my customers have asked me if I can run dashboards on screens so that my team can take a quick look at the screen and find out the real-time metrics. So I can definitely achieve this requirement with the publish feature. I can publish a dashboard in a big screen and show it to my team so that they can get the real-time view of the data. Analytics Plus is really interesting, guys. So probably you can download the free version, the personal version, one user license. Just connect it to ServiceDesk Plus and start running advanced reports and get better business intelligence out of ServiceDesk Plus. All right. So with that, we come to the conclusion of the demonstrations, and now it's time for question and answers. So I'm going to give you guys some time to shoot your questions so that we can get that answered. So, all right, I believe I've got some questions. So Ugandra is going to read the questions on behalf of our users. So I'm going to answer it one by one. Please, over to you, Ugandra.
All right, Prem. So, while you were creating one of the reports, I just noticed that you selected something which said public and then private. I just want to know if I, as an admin, can view or delete my users' private reports.
That is the beauty of private reports. The private reports are very specific to a user. So even as an administrator, I will not have control over the private report. So probably when a user leaves the organization and if he has got a lot of private reports, you may have to delete the user account in ServiceDesk Plus. And while you do that, you'll get an option to reallocate the report ownership from the deleted user to a new user. So that way we can manage it. And also the privacy of the reports are kept to only that user, right?
Wow, that really ensures privacy. All right, I have got one more question here. How do I create a portfolio for just my reports?
All right, so that is one more frequently asked question. How should I create a portfolio of reports and manage it inside ServiceDesk Plus? So we tend to not notice this section, this expand and collapsible section in the left side of the reports page. So that is where the portfolio is managed. Click on manage folder. Here I have created a separate folder for myself. All right, to create a new folder, let's say, for example, I'm going to create a new folder for Ugandra. So I'm going to call it Gandra's reports. All right, and create. So as soon as I do that, a new folder is now created. Okay, now let me go back to the reports home. I want to run a report, make a small modification. Probably she is very interested with the report I already own. I'm going to run this report and then save the report as a copy under Ugandra's folder. All right. So if she wants to make minor modifications to the already existing report, she can make changes to it, customize it, and store it under her own folder. So that way, I can slowly build a portfolio of reports and keep it for myself. So me as a team leader, if I want to get the reports that measures the performance indicators of my team members, I can keep a separate folder for my team and then run reports and get the data out of it. All right. So this is the best way to do this, guys.
That's some relief. Now I get to manage my own reports. I can save a lot of time just scrolling and searching for it. All right, one more thing. How do I set the reports to run automatically in the application? We have been saying so many different kinds of reports, but how do I automate the reports running in the application?
All right, that's a wonderful requirement. So most of the teams runs weekly report on the evening of Fridays, right? So we manually run the report, convert it into an Excel file, and send it to our managers. So if you'd like to automate that, all you have to do is go to new schedule report. So this is where I can build custom schedules. So as it shows, it requires outgoing mail server configuration through which the report will be generated and sent via email. Right, the first section is to set up the schedule. It can be a one-time, daily, weekly, or a monthly report. In my requirement, I'm going to run a weekly report and on Fridays. So every Friday at 6 p.m., I would like to generate a report and send it to my manager. I'm going to set up the time. The next section is the report. So I would like to choose the report that I have created, which has to be sent. All right. So this is my report and the format in which it has to be extracted. I'm going to choose Excel list so that I can play with it later in spreadsheet. So I'm going to choose the type. Now I can provide the email addresses. So I can provide my uh, manager's email address and also provide a comma and then provide my email address. So you can add more email addresses with comma separations, leave a subject in the message and save it. Once it is done, it will automatically run the report on 6 p.m. on Fridays, and it will shoot an email with the XLS attachment of the report. Right?
Thank you, Prem. One of our attendees wants to know if there is a way to provide a monthly report as a single export. For example, what he's saying is he wants to run a report on incidents and projects, and he wants to know if it's possible to create a single report for that. Can you answer that, Prem?
Uh, Unfortunately, it is not possible for us to combine reports from two different modules. So if you'd like to achieve such a requirement, the ideal way to achieve it is through Analytics Plus. So that is where I can play with multiple modules, choose them as data sources, create pivot charts, and generate dashboards. So that if you would like to combine data from multiple reports and see it in one view, dashboard is the way to go. Out of box in ServiceDesk Plus, it's not possible for me to create reports from multiple sources into one report.
All right, Prem, that was, I think the person got his doubt clear. And there is also one more thing. Are there any tools to allow for ease of query reporting since it uses an SQL language? Please explain.
So once again, the answer would be Analytics Plus. You can connect Analytics Plus directly to the database and then run query reports if you'd like to do it that way. And also, Service Desk Plus comes with Postgre database. The bundle database is going to be Postgre. However, we support a Microsoft SQL database as well. So if you have any tool that can connect to your Microsoft database for querying, you can use it as well. We have published the table schema. You can connect your SQL bench or any other tool with which you can generate SQL statements and get the report out of the system, you can still do it that way. But my recommendation would be best to go with Analytics Plus. So it's free of cost. You can connect it directly out of the box into with ServiceDesk Plus and get reports out of it.
Analytics Plus really simplifies our job there. Okay, so there is one more question. Can you create a single schedule for sending multiple reports, or do you have to create individual instances for each automated reports?
Okay, so unfortunately, you may have to create different schedules for every report that you would like to get out of the system. So we don't support multiple report in one schedule. So it is for the performance of the application. So it's better to do it as a separate schedule. Probably I'll take it down as an idea and pass it on to the product management team. We'll analyze and check the feasibility of supporting multiple reports under one schedule, so that you can get multiple attachments in one email rather than getting multiple emails end of the week, right?
Trim, you really want to answer this question. So, where do a person get Analytics Plus plugin, or is it covered with an additional cost? And how does it work in an offline environment? It's really an important question.
All right. So as I said earlier, Analytics Plus is an installation software. You don't have to subscribe. It's not like a cloud software. You can download the software, install it in the machine, and connect it with ServiceDesk Plus. So it is a completely offline tool. All right. So just like ServiceDesk Plus, it's an installation software. And to download it, go to the reports section in ServiceDesk Plus. So next to the admin tab, you've got reports tab, and then click on advanced analytics. And there you have a big red button. Click on it, and that's it. It will start downloading Analytics Plus. All you have to do is leave out your details and click on download now, and that will download the product. You'll get the exe version, install it in a machine. So you can install it in your PC if you're going to use the personal version. So there is no cost involved for the personal edition. For one user, it's free to use. Only if you are expanding to use the professional edition for collaboration, then there is a cost involved. You have to procure it separately. But for one user, it's free to use.
Can you also tell us how many tickets can be accommodated in the professional or the personal edition of it?
All right. With regards to personal edition, there is a restriction for 25,000 rows. So we support 25,000 rows that can be imported into Analytics Plus from ServiceDesk Plus. So say, for example, if you've got about 10,000 tickets in a month associated with 5,000 tasks and changes. So in total, it comes to 20,000. So you can bring all that details into Analytics Plus and then, manipulate and get reports out of it. But with the professional edition, which is a paid version, you don't have any restrictions, right? With for personal, you've got a restriction of 25,000 rows. All right. So if you've got any further questions, please shoot it out in the questions section or send it to support@servicedeskplus.com. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this series. With this session, we conclude the masterclass webinar series. So I'm really looking forward to get in touch with you with the next season of webinars. For now, I'm signing off. Please leave your feedback and queries to support@servicedeskplus.com. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.